Hey guys, how's it going? Week 13 on Draftkings, and I have another cage match for you. We're back. We had the Thanksgiving break. I had to let people have a break from the cage because, I can't inflict pain on a week where we're supposed to be giving thanks, but now I'm back. Black Friday's been here. Cyber Monday's been here. It's been Giving Tuesday, and now we have Cage Match Wednesday, where we are going to be raising as much money as we can for two amazing charities, just like we do every single week. And 100% of the ad revenue on this video will also get donated to No Kid Hungry, the charity that I've been playing for all season long. My guest on today's show is going to be Brad Evans from FTN, the man known as the Big Noise, Noisy Huevos. He's going to be here today with us. But for those of you who are new to the show, let me explain the process. The first thing that you're going to notice when you play a head-to-head with somebody on DraftKings is that there is going to be overlap. They might have 3, 4, 5, or even 6 of the same players that you have. The way that we're going to do this, we're going to snake draft back and forth using the salaries that are on DraftKings, but we can't have any overlap. So you're going to get two very unique lineups. We're going to play them in a head-to-head against one another this weekend, and the loser will donate to the winner's charity. Why don't I bring in Brad and introduce him? So Brad, how you doing today, man?
Hola, amigo. I am splendid. I am here for my punishment.
One thing that nobody's ever said about you is that you're not high energy, Brad.
I'm a sheepish fellow. I basically just stand in the corner by the keg at the party. I don't know what you're talking about.
The best fantasy draft I have ever been at in person, and I've been drafting for 20-something years. We did that draft that you host in Las Vegas every year.
Yep.
The Sin City Showdown. With a lot of industry folks, some former NFL players are in that league. It's a lot of fun. I did it 2 years ago. I did not do it this year because we couldn't do it in person.
Yeah, we did it online.
Yeah. But the whole point of that league for me is A, going to Vegas for a weekend, and B, being in a room where you're in the Rain Man suite at Caesar's Palace where you are doing the auctioneering, and it's absurd.
It is. And what's really absurd about it is, A, there's a lot of tequila. And I love the love juice. I love it. And Eddie Behrens knows my weakness. He just keeps feeding me the Casamigos while I'm running the spreadsheet, while I'm auctioning, while I'm drafting. It got so bad that draft that you were at, thank God our angel descended from the heavens, Peter Schenke, president of RotoWire, showed up. And Peter's just like, Brad, you all right? Nah, bro. No. I'm in bad shape right now. Can you take over playing auctioneer? Yeah, I got you. And he saved the day. But Tank and I were wrestling on the floor. Yes. Tank Williams, former NFL player, like me, pint-sized Brad Evans going up against a former large safety in the NFL who's still yoked. Ryan Harris is there, former offensive lineman, used to protect Peyton Manning, Super Bowl 50 winner. Orlando Franklin also on that offensive line. It was a hot mess. But yeah, we had a ton of fun in that draft, and I don't recall much after the first 20 players.
It was a great time.
It was a good time.
Brad, you started a new company this year. It's taken off really well. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find your work for fantasy football and betting and DFS?
Yeah. I started a business alongside Kevin Adams. We have Elliot Christ in the mix, Jeff Ratcliffe, Chris Meany, ton of great people. FTN Fantasy, FTN Daily, FTNBets.com. And we're growing rapidly. You can check out our website. It's a freemium model, so a lot of my content is out in front of the paywall. We have expansive and in-depth tools. Very proud of what our team has developed on that side. And, if you'd like to follow minus EV bettors like myself, then, check out the betting side as well. So FTN Fantasy, FTN Daily, FTNBets.com. That's my new baby that I've been bringing up and rearing here these last several months.
Well, you guys have done a great job. You really hit the ground running in a really tough year for fantasy football. So if you guys haven't checked out the stuff over at FTN, definitely go check it out. If you're a daily fantasy player, if you're a season-long fantasy player, if you're a sports bettor, go check out the stuff that they have over there. As always, we're playing for two charities. The guest always chooses the price that we're going to play for. Brad's a big dog, so he's chosen to play for $500 today. The charity that Brad is going to be playing for is
World Central Kitchen.
That's
who does a lot of great stuff for people in need. People need to eat, Al. And a great thing about World Central Kitchen is they're in major cities, they're in disaster struck areas. They immediately come in and deliver extraordinary food to the people there in a time of crisis. So what I always recommend to people, you could donate to charities like World Central Kitchen or at least your local food bank, please, especially during this holiday season. A lot of people are in major need of just simple nourishment this time of year.
For sure. Totally agree with you. Great charity there. I'm going to be playing, as always, for No Kid Hungry. Kind of the same thing. Kids who are food insecure all across the nation, especially with schools out. They provide school lunches as well as food to bring home, prepared food to bring home for kids that are food insecure. Links to both charities will be down below in the description. If you just click show more, if you wanted to donate yourself and be a part of something bigger than yourself. Now, Brad, you've chosen to pick 2nd and 2 and you've left me the first pick. And anybody who has watched these cage matches for the entire season knows that I'm not trying to put together the optimal lineup. I'm trying to inflict as much pain as I possibly can on my opponent. And typically I will go with the top value on the board, but I'm not going to go with the top value on the board here because that would mean that you are for sure going to take this guy and I don't want you to have him. Your pet project for the last 2 seasons.
Oh, Lord, of course you're going to go that route. That is extremely, I'm gutted right now, emotionally. Like, yeah, he's on my short list of players.
Of course he is.
He's got the mother of all matchups. It's Detroit. They're going to run him into the damn ground. And he's coming off a season high 140 yards and a touchdown. Thanks, Al. Yeah. That's going to be pouring salt on my wound as I watch him gallop to a 100-yard game and probably multiple TDs.
I can't wait. See, he just did the whole spiel for me. I didn't even have to give it to you. I didn't have to tell you that, the Lions are allowing one of the highest yards after contact in the league, or that they allow a touchdown on 5.6% of opponent running back runs, which is like third most in the league. Like, I didn't have to go through the stats. So I'm just going to plug in David Montgomery and I'm going to send it to you for your 2 picks.
All right. I got to go value and I got to pay up for somebody. Okay. The value, this may be a little bit of a shocker special to some people because it's a bit of a dice roll. As the coach, you never know what side of the bed he's going to wake up on. I love Jonathan Taylor this week at $5,700, and I'm going to take him against a defense that's even worse than the Detroit Lions when it comes to defending the run. And that, of course, is the Houston Texans, who've allowed an absurd 5.24 yards per carry at the running back position. And if the Taylor that we saw against the Packers shows up off the COVID list, should be good to go, and he gets that kind of workload, it's going to be 100-plus combined yards and a touchdown with ease. So give me the pride of Wisconsin, cheese curds dipping in the marinara, into my mouth, into my lineup, Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, and your next pick?
Next pick, now I'm going to pay up for a running back, and I'm going to go rub-a-dub-dub Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Against the Tennessee Titans at 7,700 biggins. And the reason why I love Nick Chubb, consecutive 100-yard games, guy's an absolute truck, got to find the end zone. And this Tennessee Titans defense, flimsy at best. And you know what Kevin Stefanski is going to do? It's going to be ball the belly early and often. Heavy dose of Chubb, probably another 18-plus touches in this one. Yeah, I got to worry about Kareem Hunt, but I think he's going to get another century mark effort and also find the end zone as well. So I will pay up for him at $7,700.
Not one game this year does Nick Chubb not have a run that's been shorter than 20 yards. Every game this year, he has ripped off chunk yardage, the most 20-yard runs in the league, and he missed like half the season, more than any other running back in the league. So good floor, really high ceiling, at least in terms of his touches. Not always involved in the passing game, but like big touchdown upside, 100-yard upside, big chunk upside, all of it. And the matchup is not terrible either. I'm going to come back over here to my team. I've got Montgomery locked in. I did not think that this player was going to be available right now. He wasn't even supposed to be here this week. I did a TikTok about him.
Wow.
I'm out there in these TikTok streets now, Brad.
That's impressive. I have not gone to the ticking or the talking quite yet.
Yeah. Well,
I will live vicariously through you, my friend.
Well, Will Fuller is out.
Oh, I know where you're going to go. Yeah.
So 3,500 Kiki Kuti.
Oh, God, he's on my list. There he goes. I got to X him out now. Oh, damn it.
So he now is going to be jumping to like 85% of the snap count. He should jump to somewhere like 15 to 18% of the target rate. There's just nothing stopping him from playing. It's much harder for Kiki Kuti to pile up fantasy points when he's standing on the sideline wearing his helmet. Well, now he's got to strap it on and get out there. Either wide receiver here is fine. The tight end is fine. There's just the target tree has been condensed so much because of injury. There is a couple other players, what they called one guy up from the practice squad. One guy's not even on Draftkings. He's not even on the list. Like Mitchell's not even available for you to draft this week. So Kiki Kuti at 3,500. I have two of my favorite value plays on the week. I have 5,800 remaining for the rest of my roster, not counting a defense, which is obviously going to boost that a little bit. I like where I'm sitting, Brad, but let me kick it back to you for one more pick.
All right, one more pick. All right, so I got Chubb, I got Jonathan Taylor. And at this juncture, I'm going to round out my running backs here because, I mentioned Jonathan Taylor and how he had that breakout performance against a certain team from northern Wisconsin, the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to go with Miles Sanders at $6,700.
Big play.
Now, look, the Eagles are a hot mess.
Yes.
There's no question about it. And they desperately need to turn to Jalen Hurts. They only have one direction to go. The offensive line has its problems, but Sanders is locked in to probably 15 to 20 touches. We know the Green Bay Packers are one of the more generous run defenses of the league, top 5 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to the position, and they give up a boatload of receptions out of the backfield. Now, Boston Scott is going to intervene from time to time, but as long as Sanders gets his customary workload, I think he finds the end zone. I think there's a really good shot here for 80 to 90 combined yards, and at $6,700, I think it's a pretty high floor this week because they have got to start adding some balance and taking some of the heat off of Carson Wentz, who was folded like a house of cards against the pressure that's been oncoming.
I don't disagree with you. And you get a good floor because he should be more involved in the passing game. Obviously, they came from way behind, or they're playing from way behind, and they came back in that game. They threw it to Richard Rodgers. They were throwing the ball to Boston Scott instead of Miles Sanders. Sanders, a very accomplished running back out of the backfield. I'd love to see him get back to the kind of usage he got second half of the season last year, at least in the passing game. But you can plug him in there in your flex. We'll adjust this based on the latest playing player later, and it comes back to me. So that means I don't need to pick a running back. You can't pick one. So I'm going to save some running backs here, and I'm going to take a wide receiver. There's a lot of guys that are available. But there's one that I think is just underpriced way too far. DraftKings refuses to price up Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, if you will. 40 targets or 41 targets in the last 4 games for the Rams, 5,900 against Arizona, who has struggled on short passes, and that's where Robert Woods makes his bacon. So I'm going to take Robert Woods here at 5,900, coming off of 2 massive target games, 27 targets in the last 2 games. Now, I'm not expecting 12 or 15 targets here, but if you're priced at 5,900 and you can probably get me 7 to 10 targets in a game, that's really good value, not even counting the fact that he's got those 7 touchdowns on the year. Give me Robert Woods at 5,900, and I'll just make up the rest as I go.
All right. Well, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Let's go to the land of the 10,000 lakes. Okay. And I know Adam Thielen is off the COVID list, and he is, raring to go. However, I believe there is a wide receiver there that could be a dark horse. It really isn't a dark horse for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is putting together a masterful performance week in and week out. That is Justin Jefferson, and I will take him against the Jacksonville Jaguars at $6,900. A guy that's top 10 in so many critical categories: yards per route run, ADOT, yards per catch, a high contested catch rate. And even with Thielen on the field, he just continues to deliver week in and week out because Kirk Cousins really doesn't have a whole lot to throw to outside those 2 guys. And I know that Dalvin Cook is a point of emphasis, but Jacksonville's kind of been sneaky competitive in some of these games despite being double-digit underdogs. So I think there's a really good shot here at 75 plus for Justin Jefferson and a touchdown, and I will use him as my anchor at the wide receiver position.
Fair enough. 6,900, a very nice price. You have 4,600 remaining. You do have a defense, so that's going to get boosted a little bit, and a tight end where you can clearly save money. So I like the roster construction so far. I could take another wide receiver from you here, but I don't feel that I need to yet. Let me take a look at tight end real quick. See what we have on board here.
Don't do it, Al. Don't do it, Al. Don't take my guy, Al.
I kind of have to.
Oh, you're going to do it, aren't you?
Maybe. It might be your guy. It might not. But I'm going to take all the Bobs off the board. I'm going to take Robert Tonyan, not Tonyan.
Okay. Not my guy. Not my guy. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tight end has been a dumpster fire all year.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
There's no other way to put it. It's just less scoring. But Tonyan brings a lot of touchdown upside in a matchup against Philly where touchdowns have been bountiful recently against that Philadelphia defense, not to mention the fact that their offense has struggled with turnovers. Aaron Rodgers is having maybe his best season of his Hall of Fame career, and Tonyan has been on the receiving end of that 7 times this season. Except for the 1 game against San Francisco, He's been pretty consistent, and his targets per route run has increased since that game in week 9 from like 7% up to like 23, 24%. And anything over 20% at tight end on targets per routes run is pretty much elite. 30% is like beyond the pale, not even sustainable on targets per routes run. So Tonyan getting a good amount of usage, a lot of red zone and end zone usage as well. And I expect a big game from Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to plug in Robert Tonyan at my tight end spot for 37 hundo.
Yeah, that's a great call on Aaron Rodgers. I love the Aaron Rodgers Devontae Adams stack if you want to pay up for it and you can unearth some of those cheaper players so you can afford it. I think that's an excellent call across the board. Okay, so you got tight end. You'd be Looney Tunes if you went flex tight end, which I don't think you're going to do.
Probably not.
So
but
I'm going to. You can. I mean, you have that right as an American.
Yeah.
If you want to do that. I sadly, and I tell you what, I've got this. I'm going to pull it off my shelf of knickknacks here.
Go for it.
I am sadly a Chicago Bears fan, and I have my Dick Butkus bobblehead doll here.
Okay.
And Dick is trying to talk to me right now, and he's saying, you need to take a Chicago Bear. So you already took my guy, and I'm pissed at you for doing so. And you're never going to be forgiven for that because it's mandatory this week with Montgomery. But I do love some Allen Robinson at $6,700. And that is who I'm going to select here.
He's quite good.
He's quite good. Trubisky's a dumpster fire. Okay. He's a walking, throwing, talking disaster. But Allen Robinson is really the only game in town. Vertically, you've got Darnell Mooney, who's made some flashes. Jimmy Graham sucks. I like Mooney too, and he's cheap. I think Jimmy Graham sucks. But this is the Lions. And what strikes me as odd, Al, and I don't know if you've seen the lines on this game, but for some sick, demented reason, the total is plummeted down to like 43.5, 44 at some books. I think this game is going to be similar to the first game between these two teams, 27-23, way back in week 1. And ultimately, it's going to benefit Robinson. I think he, similar to a Justin Jefferson, you're going to see a handsome target share, probably in line for 6-7 receptions, 70-plus yards, and a touchdown, and I'll dig him here.
Can we get, just on a side note here?
Yeah.
Can we have Allen Robinson play with a good quarterback just for a whole season? Just once?
Now look, we need to be fair, Al.
No.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you go back to his days at Penn State. Remember his Penn State quarterbacks? Matt McGloin and Christian Hackenberg.
Oh, my God. I was going to say it was Hackenberg, wasn't it?
Yeah, and McGloin was the other guy.
And then Bortles.
And then and Chad Henne. And then he had Chase Daniel, Trubisky, Nick Foles. Those are his NFL quarterbacks in his career. And some Tyler Bray, I think, mixed in there as well.
Oh, my God. Like, if he just had a good quarterback for a season, he'd probably score like 17 touchdowns.
But this is on him. He had a shot to sign with the Packers. And he chose the Bears instead.
It's on him that his quarterbacks have sucked since he was 18 years old.
I'm just saying when he left Jacksonville, he ended up signing with Chicago. The Packers wanted him to complement Devontae Adams. He spurned them for the Bears. He could have had Aaron Rodgers. It could have been Devontae Adams and Allen Robinson. Oh, my God. They would dominate the league.
Who are you going to cover? Who are you going to double? Who's catching single coverage with that duo out there?
Nobody. Nobody.
You're just F's. F's in the chat if he had signed there. All right. So I've got a lot of money. So I kind of want to check this back to you. And by that, it's a poker term. I mean, like, I don't want to have to make a decision here on anything, that's going to hamstring me. So I can take the free square here. I know I can afford it. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Austin Ekeler and his massive upside because of the floor that he brings with the passing game. Should get 12 to 15 carries on the ground. I'm not expecting 16 targets. Okay. So like,
what? Why not?
This is the limb and this is me, right? Like, I'm just not going far out on this limb. I do think that 6 to 9 targets is probably in his wheelhouse most weeks. So he's going to get me to that 20 touch range, plus getting me about 50 or 60 yards through the air, 6-7 catches. The floor is tremendous here. And with the fact that he was getting all the inside the 5 carries, they eased him back in last week. Remember that talk?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're going to ease him back in with 25 touches.
Ease.
So
and game flow changed everything too. The Chargers got down in that game, and it's like, well, are we going to trot out Joshua Kelly? No.
I mean, the reason they got down in that game is because the play calling was hot garbage.
Oh, God, it was awful. And at the end, even worse.
They threw a Hail Mary and completed it.
To the one! And then they ran the ball.
Almost got in. And then they're like, okay, we have no timeouts left. He caught the ball. He went down with 44 seconds left. Let's run a halfback dive here. That's the play. They'll never see it coming.
2 scores.
Okay, all right. Spanish Inquisition on 2. Break. Like, what are you doing? Just spike the damn thing.
It was dumb and moronic. I thought Adam Gase was calling the shots there for a second.
It was horrific. I'm going with Ekeler in this spot. I do have a flex, so I can get another running back in here. I've got 6,000, and I have all the money. I have like all the money left over, considering that I have a defense left to go with here. So let's kick it back to you. You have a quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and a DST to go.
All right, so wide receiver, I can wait on. You've already got your value pick, so I'll wait on my value pick because I don't think you're going to go that route. Tight end, you've already got. You're not going to take this individual quarterback. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going defense.
Okay.
And I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks at $3,300.
Interesting.
And here's the reason why. It's Colt McCoy, A.
That's
B,
big A.
You have a big A, huge A. Now, very average. Yeah, very average with a capital A quarterback in his vagabond career. But I was really impressed with what they did to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, a lot of that is on Carson Wentz in the offensive line. But the Giants' offensive line, by a lot of the metrics or even the eye test, is even worse than Philadelphia's this season. And they're going to really struggle trying to protect Colt McCoy. He's not nearly as mobile as Daniel Jones. And if the Seattle Seahawks dial up the pressure like they did against Philadelphia, this could be a sack fest, maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe more. And, of course, you get pressure in the pocket. It leads to other mistakes, a couple of interceptions, maybe a pick 6. Love Seattle this week at $3,300.
Look at the difference in the Seattle defense since they got Dunlap on this team.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Good call.
So they still are not good in the secondary, right? No. But if you don't let quarterbacks sit there in the pocket, they can't pick apart your weak secondary. So since adding Dunlap, you look at them in the beginning of the season, 2 sacks, 1 sack, 2, 1, 3 through week 5. The last 4 weeks, 6, 3, 3, and 7 sacks. You look at their passing yards allowed. They've diminished. They've gone down greatly. One of those games against Wentz, former MVP candidate. One of those games against Kyler Murray, the highest scoring fantasy quarterback pretty much ever through the first 10, 11 weeks of the season. And they've held both of them under 300 yards, basically after allowing everybody to just throw for like 350 plus against them in the first 6, 7 weeks of the season. So I don't hate that pick at all. And I know that people are going to say, oh, Seattle's defense is terrible. And it's like, it's not even recency bias. It's just, that's what it was at the beginning. And people have a hard time changing their view when something changes mid-season, like adding Carlos Dunlap to your team has totally changed the way that we have to look at that defense.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, look, I mean, I know they're still on a historic pace to give the most passing yards in NFL season, but they have made those significant changes. They have made significant strides in general improvement these last 3 weeks. And again, it's Colt freaking McCoy. That's all you need to know.
You're not wrong. So I'm going to go with somebody else here, and I'm going to have to move somebody around. So I'm going to take Ekeler. I'm going to move him to my flex because he's later. So just a little bit of a lineup building tip for people. Always put your latest playing player in your flex spot.
Yeah, good call.
I'm going to pick my third running back, and I'm going to go with somebody who, this is not normally the route that I go with running backs. I usually stick to home favored running backs, right? You guys know the 5 boxes that I like to check off. Playing at home, favored, expecting 20 touches, gets the inside the 5 work, included in the pass game, all that sort of things. Those are the 5 boxes. However, one thing trumps everything, and it's volume. And James Robinson, doesn't matter if they win or they lose. They're just going to give him the ball 20 times. They're going to throw him the ball 4, 5, 6 times every game, and he's going to get all the inside the 5 usage. This is the engine of this Jacksonville Jaguars offense, because it's not a good team. But if you give any running back the ball who's got some talent, and I do believe that James Robinson does have talent, he is a very good player. If you let him touch the ball 25 times a game and he's young enough to rebound from all that contact, he's just going to pile up yards and pile up points and pile up stats every single week. To me, for 7,300, I get a realistic floor of like, I don't know, 9, maybe 10 points, but he's averaging 19.5 on the season. I have the possibility of getting a 25 plus point game out of him for 7,300. And it doesn't tie up too much salary, which allows me flexibility to move on with the rest of this lineup, which is kind of what I want. 17,000 left. I've got a defense that's going to pop that up a little bit more. I can get basically whatever I want at quarterback and at wide receiver. I'm pretty excited about it.
James Robinson is the unsung hero of fantasy football this season.
So good.
He is amazing. Look, I watched a little film on him. He's an Illinois State guy. I'm from Champaign, which is like 45 minutes to the southeast of Bloomington Normal, where ISU is. And, he impressed me on tape, but that's a D2 level. And he comes into camp. We heard some rumblings that, hey, this guy's got a legit 3-down skill set. He can play. But, I was all about Divine Zigbo, the Nebraska product. And then he got hurt with a hamstring injury, and it just paved the way. And people are like, why would they cut Fournette after last year? Well, here's your answer. He's number 4 in overall total scoring right now in fantasy. And you got him off waivers. This is why you should never overrate the draft in season long, right?
Yeah.
He's just a wonderful story. And he's just really damn good on a bad team. And this is why, as an NFL GM, you don't go out and sign Zeke Elliott to Brewster's Millions. There's no reason to, because there are a lot of guys out there. We've seen this story play time and time again out in the league that you can pluck off a free agency, young, fresh legs determined. Yeah, they may flame out in 4 years, and you just plug and play another guy in there. But James Robinson right now, one of those, Arian Foster greats, Priest Holmes greats, that went undrafted and is now flourishing in the league.
All right, here's the thing. We've talked about this. We talked about James Robinson on our stream earlier this week about, like, everybody was drafting Ozigbo and everybody was drafting
Raquel
Armstead, and nobody, maybe because there was no preseason, the Jags were able to hide him from the fantasy football crowd, because if there were 4 preseason games, we would have noticed that James Robinson was running with the ones.
Yeah. And
he would have started creeping up draft boards as draft season went on. But he was a relative unknown coming into this season. The other thing to your point about the process of team selection in the NFL, and I digress, but it's my show, so I can do it. The right way to go about picking running backs is have a running back, and then when he is got 1 year left on his contract coming into that season, so like if you got a guy that's got 1 year left in his contract before his RFA or UFA year, draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th or 5th round, that you think can do the job. Play him behind that guy in like a 70-30 split, and then let the dude walk and play the other dude. And then when he's in the year right before, you draft another guy in the 3rd round behind him.
Yeah.
And rinse and repeat all the time. Never pay your running back with that second contract. And I hate that. And I think that they need to change the way that the rules are in the collective bargaining agreement to actually pay running backs on their first contract, because it is such a flame out position. But we digress. But that's, I want to see these guys get paid, but the Cowboys can't do anything because they've tied up all that money with somebody. And are you telling me the Cowboys offense won't be as good if Pollard is the running back instead of Zeke?
Hey, Pollard's been very impressive in limited doses in his NFL career. Yeah, I think it's a valid argument to make. And, again, Justin Robinson, proof in the pudding.
Yeah, there you go. So let's go back to you. You got a quarterback, wide receiver, tight end remaining.
All right, quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. Again, I'm going to wait on tight end. I just don't see you going that route. You did get a value wide receiver. You know what? I will go quarterback here. Oh, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's just roll the damn dice. Give me Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now look.
Let's do this. At $5,400, stack him with Allen Robinson.
So a word that a lot of people use in chat in the replies is trust. And I'm trying to get people out of the habit of using the word, can you trust Mitch Trubisky? Is it about trust, or is it about this is a really good matchup where they should score points?
Sensational matchup.
And he's 5,400.
And he's owned Detroit in his career.
Oh,
remember week 1? He went for 240 and 3 touchdowns. Look, you got to take the good with the bad. Are there going to be turnovers? Yes, that's a guarantee. Probably one pick, maybe a fumble loss. But I think it's going to be similar to the TD hat trick that he had in week 1. Again, I feel this game's got sneaky shootout appeal. And the big upside with Trubisky is the rushing stats. We didn't see too much of Green Bay. He had 11 rushing yards. I lost on my prop. I had 12.5. Thanks, Mitch. But, he can erase one of those turnovers potentially, with 15 rushing yards, right? Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of appeal here. And I always love to stack my quarterback with a wide receiver. That's lineup building 101. And again, I'm going to maximize a matchup. So yeah, let's do this, baby. I'm on record on my SiriusXM show this week. I'm on record in my column this week. Mitch Trubisky outperforms Kyler Murray. It's maybe going to happen. Probably not, but I'm on record for saying it.
Who has more points this week, Mitch Trubisky or David Montgomery?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Obviously narrative, game script flow is going to determine a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about Montgomery is he's also script agnostic right now because he's really the only game in town. I will give the advantage to mandatory Montgomery because I love him.
I needed YouTube to know how much that pick hurts you. That I took that pick first.
I will weep uncontrollably tonight. Like, this is going to haunt my nightmares. So I need my University of Illinois Fighting Illini to beat Baylor to wash away all angst that I have inside of me raging right now.
I'm going to try and make this worse on you. How can I make this worse?
I don't think you can at this point. There is no way in hell that you're going to take the wide receiver and tight end I'm thinking about.
No, I can't take your guys. I mean, it would be silly of me to take your guys.
Oh, you're just talking my pet players?
No.
All right.
I just have a lot of money.
You do have a lot of money.
I have a lot
and
of
you
money
can make
right
it hurt right now.
If you were to say a wide receiver in the league that you would least like to get into a fight with, who would that be?
Oh, it's DK Metcalf.
Yeah. He's a large human.
He's strong. He has big muscles.
Yes. So I'm going to have him standing behind me as I walk into this cage match this Sunday at 8,200.
Wait a minute. It's like Virgil with the $1 million man, right?
Belt.
Wasn't it Virgil, the big dude that was always behind him?
Behind the $1 million man. He held the $1 million belt and everything.
Yeah, that's Virgil. That's DK Metcalf. Same dude.
I got Kuti, I got Bob Woods, and I got DK Metcalf walking down that aisle. I can see you shaking in your boots.
Yeah, I need an underwear change.
Why don't you give me your wide receiver and your tight end here, since I can't stop you from picking either one.
Okay.
You have 7,600 remaining for your.
I can't believe I'm doing this. In a lineup with Mitchell Trubisky, which is already going to be an unmitigated disaster. Give me Brashad Perriman at wide receiver from the Jets. Very
Good
quietly.
value.
Yeah, I mean, $3,900, very quietly putting together some great numbers these last 3 games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very similar to what he did last year with Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 19.8 ADOT these last 3 games, 78 yards per game with 3 touchdowns. And Vegas can't stop anybody. And Damon Arnett may not play. Remember, he was concussed on his feet and they had to yank him out of the game. Mm-hmm. So if he's out, I mean, they're already rubbish in the secondary. They're going to be even worse now. So I think Perriman's got a really good shot at finding the end zone and getting over 70 yards. And then tight end, and this is a bit of a dice roll because I don't know the status of a guy that's higher than him on the depth chart, but he's really good value right now as it stands at 3,400. Kyle Rudolph. It is the holiday season, after all, and he's the red zone reindeer. And Jacksonville has allowed the second most fantasy points at the tight end position. Coming off a season high, 8 targets, 7 catches for 68 yards. If Irv is out with that love muscle injury, groin, for those people that can't put 2 and 2 together, Kyle Rudolph is going to be a point of emphasis alongside Thielen and Jefferson in this vertical attack for Minnesota.
Yeah, he's got a pulled groin, his own, we hope. Jacksonville has been kind of like a fantasy fiesta every single week. Running backs and wide receivers and quarterback, just play players against Jacksonville and they will score fantasy points. We had the fantasy carnival with the Dallas Cowboys, but then Dak broke his leg and they shut down the Ferris wheel and a whole bunch of stuff happened. But like, we at least have the fantasy fiesta still out there. So your roster is Mitch Trubisky. You got Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, possibly 2 very high volume running backs. Jefferson, Allen Robinson, one of my favorite wide receivers in the league, talent-wise. Perriman, Rudolph. What did you call him? The red zone reindeer?
Yeah, that's a common nickname for him. Everybody knows Kyle Rudolph as the red zone reindeer.
I love that. Miles Sanders and the underrated Seahawks defense. I'm going to come back to my side. I have a quarterback and I have a DST left. Let me see what I can do here. If I was to plug in, God, they're bad, but I don't care. Like if I was to do that, I could make this work. Because that would leave me this. But if I completely punt defense, with that fantasy fiesta, that lets me get up here to the man with the beard. He kind of looks like Shroud. I know that that's out of your realm of knowledge there, but For those gamers on Twitch and YouTube who understand what I'm talking about, Aaron Rodgers looks like he could be Shroud's dad. So I'm going to take Shroud's dad here, and I'm going to go with the Jaguars defense and just completely punt over going with like a 6,400, like a Cousins or a Taysom Hill or Tannehill, who I think is actually a very good play this week against Cleveland. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers, his multiple touchdown upside here, and pair him with Robert Tonyan. So Rodgers, Montgomery, Robinson, Kuti, Woods, Metcalf, Tonyan, EKELER, Jaguars. Let us know in the replies who you think got the better of each other. I wish you guys the best this weekend. If you haven't already, go follow Brad on Twitter. Go check out the great tools that they have over at FTN, and look out for another video right here.
He's a legend.